Hey guys, Major here. Now I don't know about you, but I love to play my games on the PC. But I have friends who don't like to play games on the PC and prefer to play on other platforms like the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One or even the Nintendo Wii or the old last gen platforms, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. Now wouldn't it be nice if we could just play all of our games, no matter which platform, with everybody? What if that were possible? Well, today I am here to discuss the concept of cross-platform multiplayer. So, cross-platform multiplayer is a concept that would allow people to play with each other no matter which platform they are on. So for example, I could play Battlefield with somebody on the PlayStation 4 whilst I was playing on the PC. Unfortunately, there are many differences between these platforms that create difficulties when trying to construct a multiplayer cross-platform bridge between them. For example, the control scheme. On the PC side you have a mouse and keyboard. A keyboard has something like 104 keys, plus the ones on whatever mouse, whereas the controller has something more like 10 or 14 buttons. And whilst in games you're never really going to be using more than 10 or 14 different actions, when it comes to games like MMOs, where you have to use many different macros and combinations of buttons, it can become difficult for console players to be on par with those who have a keyboard and have many more buttons available to them. Another difficulty with cross-platform is the difference in hardware and how much that hardware can manage. Now I'm getting onto graphics performance and frame rates here. Now there are many cases where cross-platform has been considered for a game but hasn't actually made it into the final product because of a reason that has related to the differences in hardware. A specific example that I can give is Destiny. Destiny was actually meant to be cross-platform between PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and the reason why they didn't go ahead with it was because the developers thought that players on the PlayStation 4 would have a slight performance edge over those on Xbox One, with a slightly increased frame rate and a slight increase in the amount of pixels that they have at longer ranges. That could have had an impact on some players' performance on the Xbox One and the PS4. Now honestly, I think that this is stupid, because if you're defining that cross-platform multiplayer is crossing between different pieces of hardware, then cross-platform multiplayer has actually been going on for a hell of a long time, because technically that means that PC is cross-platform multiplayer. Not every PC is the same. Some people have lower end specs, some people have higher end specs, but everybody plays on that platform together no matter what their PC specs are, and not many people complain about the differences in hardware that they have, and it works well as a platform. We have seen this for the past 15-20 years. Although it's not entirely mainstream at the minute, cross-platform multiplayer has actually been tried out in a few games before. I'm talking about Final Fantasy XIV, Portal 2 and War Thunder. Now Portal 2 is a fairly recent game that actually caught me by surprise when I saw it, that it was actually cross-platform multiplayer. It was actually cross-platform multiplayer between the PS3 and the PC. Now there's things that all of these games have in common, and that's that they're co-op, they're not competitive. And that brings a slight variation into this discussion. Whilst cross-platform multiplayer has been tried out with co-op things, it has not actually been tried out before, to my knowledge, with competitive games. And I personally think that this is actually the best way to approach cross-platform multiplayer. Not to make it so that competitive shooters and the likes are available on cross-platform multiplayer, but to make it so that co-op games are available on this scheme. And I'm going to get into my conclusion here of what I think cross-platform multiplayer could be. I think that it could be possible between Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. Them two networks are a match made in heaven for cross-platform multiplayer. You have the player base who are pretty much similar. They play similar games, they have a similar control layout, and their systems that they're available on have similar system specs. Although the PS4 might have a slight edge, it's negligible. And we have seen that the differential in hardware doesn't really make that much of a difference when it comes to competitive games like Battlefield, as we've seen from the PC market that has been successful for the past 20 odd years. If it were to be cross-platform between consoles and the PC, I really do think it would depend on the game just because of the control layout. MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV do work because they are cooperative, as does Portal and the upcoming Fable Legends. That is cross-platform between Xbox One and the PC, and they work because they're co-op. Now I did have to think about whether this would work for Evolve, because it's not all a first-person shooter. Some of it is to do with being a monster, and it's asymmetrical. So some of it is slightly co-op with a slight hint of competitiveness there. And honestly, I think that Evolve would work, sort of, in a strange way, just because graphical fidelity and frame rate doesn't really impact your performance that much in that game, as I've tried and tested in my time with the beta. But I'm glad to see that developers and companies like Microsoft are starting to delve into the world of cross-platform with Fable, and hopefully developing it on from there, because honestly I would love to see just one universal platform or service that we could use to play with everybody, no matter what platform they enjoyed playing on, or no matter what games they enjoyed playing, just being able to play with everybody no matter what their opinions and choices are. But what's your opinion? Let me know down in the comments what you think about cross-platform multiplayer. Is it something that you'd like to see tried and tested in the future? Or do you think it's just a total load of rubbish and it should not ever be attempted? Let me know in the comments. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.